Corporation founder Joseph Sandberg has been sentenced to 14 years in prison for defrauding investors of $248 million per Baxter. He and the Clippers are being investigated by the NBA for paying Kawhi under the table. Nothing to see here, Joe. No connections need to be made when we're talking fraud to this degree on a contract that we know is fraud, and the NBA is like, please just go away. Please just go away.
Digital bank aspiration raised hundreds of millions of dollars by promising Hollywood's elite that they could save the planet just by opening a savings account. But according to the Department of Justice, the only thing their co-founder was actually recycling was your life savings.
I got a bad feeling about this.
We are looking directly at a massive structural collapse. Joe Sandberg, a prominent entrepreneur, anti-poverty activist, and co-founder of the celebrity-backed Sustainable Bank Aspiration, has officially pleaded guilty to 2 federal wire fraud counts. He orchestrated an investor and lender fraud plot that resulted in the catastrophic $248 million loss, and a judge handed him a 14-year sentence in federal prison. Now, a standard industry
about this.
wisdom would tell you that eco-friendly fintech startups are completely safe, bulletproof vehicles for your capital, in all honesty. But the reality is the media wants you to believe that if a company has the backing of a Hollywood A-lister, then their balance sheet should be just as clean, as if a freshly washed solar panel or something where you took some bleach and just poured it over. It's like, hey, this is freshly clean. But the reality is they didn't count on the raw mechanics of a corporate phantom shell game. This wasn't minor administrative error or an unexpected market dip. Sandberg was caught red-handed, inflating available cash metrics and forging brokerage statements right under the noses of his elite investors. While Hollywood was busy giving speeches about carbon offsets, the DOJ was busy mapping out a $250 million paper trail. If you thought this standard corporate bankruptcies were wild, wait until you see the absolute audacity of a green energy illusionist who, when the cash runs out, this is the ultimate operational reality check. The reality is this man who got sentenced to 14 years in prison really messed up. And the reality is we're trying to skip all the surface level news fluff and dropping straight into the heavy technological architecture of the scam. Sandberg's Phantom Enterprise Sustainability Services was really a financial trickery that worked in plain English. Aspiration built its massive public valuation by telling investors they had recurring business-to-business revenue, but companies paying for their tree planting services to reduce their environmental impact. On paper, it looks like corporate clients were lining up trying to throw buckets of cash at Aspiration to save the world. But according to federal investigators, the data tells a completely psychotic story. Sandberg was secretly taking his own cash, routing it through external shell companies, and using it to pay businesses and individuals to sign up for the services. In other words, he was completely manufacturing his own customer demand. That man is psychotic, allegedly. Well, not even allegedly. He got found guilty, 14 years in jail. So the reality is, Aspiration's internal dashboard showed booming organic enterprise revenue, but it was just Sandberg playing a multi-million-dollar game of financial hide-and-seek with himself. He even explicitly instructed employees under him not to contract these specific corporate customers. Why? Because if the customers didn't even know they were part of a massive revenue boosting scheme, that would make it extremely obvious. And to make it even more absurd, Sandberg introduced a private individual investor lots of investors to hand over their life savings by overstating the bank's total liquidity by hundreds of millions of dollars. At one point, marketing materials and fabricated audit letter claimed that Aspirin had over $250 million in cash and equivalents. The actual reality on the ground, the company had less than $1 million left in the bank. $1 million! The lesson here is the entirety of the critical infrastructure that made up Aspirin was hyper-progressive, emotional branding to mask their underlying core financials. It's clear that this was an indication of systemic operational failure. Sandberg didn't just bend the metrics. He built an entire ecosystem on the baseline of a lie to artificially pump the company's valuation before it violently imploded into bankruptcy. The state doesn't really care about your noble public mission. They looked at the audited ledger, and when the ledger is $248 million short, the system corrects itself instantly. Next, we have to examine the institutional leverage Sandberg used to execute this: the celebrity endorsement shield and the forged brokerage playbook. When you're trying to con a sophisticated global leader out of a 9-figure sum, you need a massive amount of psychological social proof. Sandberg literally masterfully used his position as an Aspiration board member and his personal company's shares to attract heavy, high-profile investments from icons like Leonardo DiCaprio, Orlando Bloom, and Robert Downey Jr. This even secured a massive $60 million investment from former Microsoft CEO and LA Clippers owner Steve Ballmer, who literally publicly posted that he was completely duped and felt incredibly silly about the entire situation. But while celebrity names kept the public distracted, Sandberg and a fellow board member were executing high-stakes scams in the background to secure loans from global financial institutions like the UBS. To get a $145 million loan line, literally they promised shares of Sandberg stock as collateral. Now, I don't know about you, but the bank really needed to see proof that they actually had personal assets to back up as a default. So what did they do? They literally falsified bank and brokerage statements, digitally inflating their associates' liquid assets by tens of millions of dollars out of thin air. They handed the forged PDFs to the lenders, smiled, and walked away with millions in cash. Literal modern-day robbery. Sandberg told the judge he did it out of zeal to save the bank and meet payroll during the pandemic. But the federal prosecutors dug through the bank telemetry and discovered the truth. A massive portion of those fraudulent loans were sent straight to paying off Sandberg's earliest personal debts and buying stock in Blue Apron under his own name. This really highlights a massive blind spot in the modern venture capital world. Investors in massive banks often let their guard down simply because an entity has premium social capital and have elite branding. Sandberg used Hollywood glitz and glamour as an operational cloaking device. But premium network cannot save you from automated financial auditing once a lender starts asking where the collateral actually lives. Like, what's wrong with people? Now look, you could spend the next 6 months of your life manually scraping fragmented public news reports, trying to refresh court documents, reading dense Department of Justice sentencing memos, and attempting to guess which massive celebrity-backed venture is secretly running an empty bank account, aka a Ponzi scheme. Or you could try to manually track these chaotic corporate death spirals before they completely wipe out their investors. Or you can use the ultimate operational shortcut. VORTXmarket.com is literally this one live terminal that updates every single day. VORTX is a premium business data platform engineered specifically to let you bypass the guesswork entirely. It acts as your private intelligence terminal to track major corporate moves, hidden identity distress patterns, modern institutional data long before it ever gets blown up by mainstream news networks. And if you really want to build or run a business venture in the blind, you can't afford to wait around lagging for media cycles. Stop playing catch up with the crowd. Go and head over to VORTXmarket.com, get the raw data layout instantly, and stay ahead of the curve. Now that we've secured the infrastructure layout, let's look at the absolute destruction left in the wake of this sentence. 14 years is a long time. It's hard time. And the reality check here is that the insane collateral damage that is done to professional sports alone is immeasurable. When Sandberg stood out in front of the U.S. District Judge Stephen Wilson in Los Angeles, his defense team pleaded for mercy. They were literally begging. They pointed to his years of high-profile anti-poverty work and argued that a prison sentence was simply too severe for a man who just wanted his business to succeed. But the judge completely rebuffed the argument, stating that his case touched almost every single badge of fraud possible, that he's a madman that he has ever encountered in his 40 years on the bench. That's crazy. But the chaos doesn't just stop at prison doors. This scam was so widespread, it triggered an actual NBA investigation into the Los Angeles Clippers. Court documents revealed that Aspiration signed Clippers star Kawhi Leonard to a massive $28 million marketing contract. Investigations started looking into whether Sandberg's company was being sued by team ownership to covertly funnel money to players to completely circumvent the NBA's strict salary cap rules. While the Clippers and Ballmer have strongly denied these allegations, Sandberg's total lack of credibility dragged literally one of the biggest stars franchises in the world into a federal fraud circus. This is the ultimate proof that massive corporate lie never stays contained into a single room or to a single person. It metastazes across entire networks, destroying reputations, communities, wiping out small investors' life savings, dragging down sports franchises and global banks alike. When you run a business on falsified data telemetry, the fallout is absolute. But what does this mean for viewers and researchers like you and me? This means watch what businesses you invest into. Pay attention. Because if there's these signals that VORTX Market is really tracking, will help you understand that not all businesses are good businesses. And really, at the end of the day, Joe Sandberg's $248 million eco-friendly illusion proved that when the federal system audits your business, your celebrity friends cannot save you. Your progressive branding cannot shield you, and your good intentions mean absolutely nothing. He tried to build a $250,000 business on a pile of forged PDFs. Now he has 14 years to spend in a federal cell to think about his math. The modern corporate landscape moves incredibly fast. The builders and creators who survive are the ones who identify these hidden distress signals and structural risks long before bankruptcy courts liquidate the assets. Make sure to check out VORTXmarket.com because real-time financial intelligence and monitoring major institutional moves always is worth beating the headlines. Hit that subscribe button, drop a comment whether you think celebrity investors should be held more accountable for the companies they endorse and promote, and I'll see you high-level builders in the next video. Stay secure and keep your sheets clean.